If you're a man who handles everything alone and doesn't ask for help and doesn't expect people to show up, there's a reason for that. It probably started when you were a kid. I know for years, I came home and hit the sofa after school and watched MASH reruns on TV. What a blast seeing Hawkeye tease and really bust on Major Frank Burns. And that Frank, man, he's a simp. Many of us grew up with either one parent or were products of divorce or had both parents working into the evening hours. I really can't help but think that a lot of men learn independence well before they learned connection. And that does show up later in life, especially when men lack the support of other men. The divorced man can feel this the hardest because what he actually needs is connection. In divorce recovery especially, it's important to broaden the base, to build connection with other men. A lot of men raised themselves, and that made us strong. But strength doesn't have to mean doing life alone. The divorced man can feel this the hardest because what he actually needs is connection. But many of us were fed the idea of being like John Wayne, taking life on alone, strong, steady, like an oak. Sure, there's pride in that, but also there's isolation, machismo, vulnerability. That becomes one of the hardest things for men. A lot of men get used to handling everything alone. Also, men tend to relate to each other side by side and not face to face. In divorce recovery, especially, it's important to broaden the base, to build connection with other men. Most men connect through hobbies, activities, shared environments. One of the most important times for me after my divorce was going to a men's group at a church that I raised my kids in. Well, I hadn't returned to that church in years and years, but I got to tell you, the group was amazing. It was like 400 or 500 men strong. And there'd be some singing and a pastor, one of the pastors giving a message, right? And then after that, each table had a group of like 7 to 10 men, and we would basically sit there and just talk about some of the topics they'd give us, but also talk about life and how heavy things were. But it was a good time to just sit there, listen to other guys, and realize other guys have problems too. And it was a good environment that eventually some of the men would start opening up and really connecting. And I found that to be a super helpful time during my divorce recovery. A lot of men raised themselves, and that made us strong. But strength doesn't have to mean doing life alone. Connection is something you can learn, even if no one ever taught you. And it starts small. So, guys, in the next few days, this week, try some stuff. First of all, reach out to one guy this week, even if it's just a text. Say one honest thing instead of keeping it in. And another idea is you can put yourself in a room where men are doing something. Gym, group, anything. But it begins with one step. Some of us are isolated, and it's really hard to get out and connect with other men. But once again, it begins with one step.